It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
That's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
Man.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though.
Sorry, I blew up over that.
And we're back. This is Rut and River Pursuits podcast, and you're around the Sonic Campfire. Who do we have tonight, guys?
I'm Catfish.
I'm Will.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
And this is Dave.
What's
Hey, guys.
going on, Dave?
What's up, DK?
How are we doing?
We missed you yesterday.
I know. I was not happy at work knowing what you guys were doing, but we have something better right now to talk about.
Did you line something up for us?
What you got for us, Deaky?
We have Kristy Titus
What?
on the line.
She's on the phone right now.
She is.
Kristy, are you there?
I am here. Yes, I'm barely hanging on, but I'm here.
She's on the edge of the seats and all that.
I'm on the edge of it.
Well, for our listeners, Kristy, Board of Directors, NRA, a competitive shooter, instructor, anything outdoors, TV host.
Backcountry hunter.
Yeah. I mean, welcome to the show, Kristy.
Thank you for having me on.
So, what's going on in Oregon right now?
She chases elk with the bow.
Yeah.
Like,
do.
literally, she chases them, I
She
think.
takes a horse with her when she does it.
Sometimes I am known to
Backpacking
chase
it.
them. I get a little crazy when I'm elk hunting, though, so don't judge me by that.
We would never.
No, that's not our style.
Not our place to judge.
I've never had the chance to go hunting, taking the horses in. That seems very cool.
Packing in.
Yeah. I mean, when we hunted in Alaska, we just float planed in, but we didn't actually have the horses to go up in the backcountry. That seems fun. I want to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I was very fortunate as a child. At the time, perhaps I didn't realize that it was so awesome growing up in the middle of nowhere, not having that traditional neighborhood setting. At the time, you feel like, man, I'd really like to have people to play with. But looking back now, I'm like, that was pretty awesome. Yeah. I grew up, on the back of a mule, going in the backcountry with my mom and my dad, and fishing and camping, and just really non-traditional way of life, I guess, if you will.
So your parents were outfitters?
No, they just liked to go hunting.
Just lived the life.
That's just what they do. Yeah.
Wow.
Living the dream. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I would go as far as say I feel like you're super blessed to grow up like that, even though it could feel a bit lonely at times. I mean, I didn't grow up like you, but I grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania where me and Will, we lived like 10 miles apart, and Will's known Will since second grade. He's one of my closest neighbors then, so.
Yeah, truth.
Yeah.
Well, as a kid, I was always jealous of the other kids that got to go to Disneyland. I was like, man, I wonder what that's like. And I've still never been, and I'm like nearing 40.
Well,
you're not missing anything.
No.
Well, no, I clearly do not feel like I missed a darn thing now, but at the time I didn't realize that being on the back of a mule was better than being at Disneyland, perhaps.
Well, tell you what, you have a bunch of kids sitting around this table right now just dying to hear about this Disneyland experience of a lifestyle you've been living, because it sure sounds like I want to do all the things that you've been doing. Because just looking at some of the pictures in your bio, it's just, that's stuff that dreams are made of, and you do it daily. It's awesome.
I agree. I'm very blessed, and I get to enrich my life with the most spectacular scenery in the world, and there's, no mountain that my heart doesn't yearn to conquer at some point. That's for sure.
That's very cool.
My mind works weird. I have to ask. So, is it Oregon or Montana?
I live in Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. Is there chupacabra there? Because
I have what did you just ask?
They're like a half fox, half coyote, mangy gremlin looking thing. Like I don't know.
The chupacabra.
The chupacabra.
Yeah.
No, we have regular old coyotes here. Actually, our coyotes in the wintertime catch a pretty good penny if if you know how to prep fur and take it to sale.
We just learned about that. So we have a lifelong trapper friend, and he was describing the difference between the eastern coyotes and the western coyotes and fox.
You guys are getting like double, triple, 4 times the amount of money for a pelt comparatively same size than we are on the East Coast. So.
Yeah, I can sell on a traditional kind of average year. If I go out and hunt and I shoot a coyote, I can sell it to a fur prepper processor for about $20, and he'll sell it for about $70 at a sale. So if you're doing your own trapping and you're making, you can make as much as $70 a dog. Our coyotes are gorgeous, but it's also, it depends on the fur market. So whatever the international market is demanding is what obviously drives the fur prices.
Is there some long distance shooting out? I mean, for coyotes, obviously out there, is that something that you guys take the Creedmoor out for?
Yeah, I'm not an avid predator hunter, but a lot of my friends are avid predator hunters, and they'll take a rifle to for those long shots, and then sometimes you have those dogs that sneak up literally in your lap, and they're using a shotgun for them.
Yeah,
so
that's
a lot of guys
here.
are running. Yeah, they're running stages in sets where they'll have, both firearms ready, if you will.
Yeah, that's what we do here. One guy sits with the rifle, one guy sits with the 12 gauge. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's wild how they can come out of nowhere right up behind you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, they're not very big.
No, and I believe that some of the ones out west, the pictures that I've seen of are even like lots, they're good size bigger than the ones we have. Here's a wild question. Have you seen any of those? I mean, it's in magazines and it's like starting to come to light. Maybe it's been more out there.
Bigfoot.
No, yeah.
Oh.
No, that guy. No, the coyote wolf crossbreed thing that they're talking about.
No, I'm not familiar with it. Oregon's just now getting wolves in Eastern Oregon, and we have a very significant pack of wolves. And in fact, like this year I was bear hunting in Hell's Canyon. I didn't bear hunt Hell's Canyon this year. I elk hunted Hell's Canyon this year. And what I found extremely alarming was that of all the cow elk I saw, and I saw probably 20 cow elk, I saw one calf that survived.
Wow, that's horrible.
That's horrible. Between the bears and the wolves, the populations of big game in Oregon are really, really, really suffering. And then big cats also.
Right.
So those are all major concerns. And I try to spring bear hunt every year. I'm not always successful at it, but I think for me, it's important for the North American wildlife conservation model to manage both ungulates and predators. So I try to bear hunt as well, but we're in a sad state out west with wolves, and some states have grizzlies also, which are extremely protected and further diminish those wildlife populations.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't mean to bring it up, but I don't even know if it's a thing. I've been seeing pictures in magazines, and it's smaller than a wolf. Has like a coyote head. Looks reddish.
Yeah, there's been documented hybrids.
Okay,
and
well, I
stuff
didn't know.
like that
I saw
that are out
pictures. I
there.
didn't know if that was a thing or not.
Yeah.
I thought it might be a chupacabra, type of
Not
deal.
in my state. Yeah, we either have wolves or they're coyotes. As far as I know, they haven't inbred, but heck, I'm not living where they're living. I'm not in Eastern Oregon. Well, I'm in Eastern Oregon, but not in Eastern Oregon, where the great population of wolves in our state's living currently.
Now your state, as far as what you're allowed to do in your state, are you allowed to hunt mountain lions in your state, in Oregon?
Yes, not with dogs.
Okay. And the wolf population as well. Is there a tag for that yet?
No.
Yeah, that's still they're still protected federally, I think, right? The wolves.
They're off the endangered list, but they're still protected.
Yeah.
Well, from like Yellowstone, I saw another magazine article where there was a map with the dots of the populations on where they've spread. They've actually gotten a good bit away from Yellowstone now. So.
Yeah, and that's been the concern, I believe, in the West is, the impact that the wolf can have both on the wildlife population, but also, cattle farmers are concerned about them, things like that. There's been a lot of.
Well, food is food to a wolf. It doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't care if it has a tag in its ear. Correct. Yeah. However, it's very, majestic in the way that its inner workings with its group is, the alpha, the beta. I just love how sometimes they put the older wolf out front, and the alpha sometimes will even lead from the back to watch the entire pack. Their inner workings of how they work is
neat.
truly amazing.
Definitely a cool pack animal.
But it makes it an alpha predator for sure. Like, once they become a problem in an area, I could see where everybody, the farmers alike, and the calves, like she said, would be really hurting if you didn't watch that population.
Well, Kristy,
the problem with them is they're almost impossible to hunt, and there's this great utopianism that a lot of, I would say, the utopianism of, we need this great checks and balances of, wild predators that aren't human to manage and balance wildlife populations. But what they're not taking into account when they reintroduce this with their mindset, and this is where man comes in to help monitor with hunting, is that when wolves used to exist with wildlife, for example, you take somewhere like British Columbia or Montana that were roadless and unlandscaped, if you will. So when there were 6 feet of snow that a moose could get around pretty easily in, a wolf's really going to struggle in that type of condition because their legs are short and they sink. But you add things like trail systems that are manicured by man, road systems that are manicured by man, and these wolves use those as freeways, and they can travel up to 50 miles a day, and they hunt them like a freeway. Yeah. And that man has opened up the opportunity for them to be an even more apex predator. And that is where we have to come in as man and say, okay, well, how do we manage this? And the difficulty of hunting wolves is they're like chasing a ghost. They're extremely intelligent. And it's you cannot manage wolves through hunting alone. It's just impossible.
Right. And it's crazy too, because, we spend so much time with the science and research on tag numbers for a healthy population as conservationists through hunting. There's no tag numbers for wolves. Like they don't, it's okay to have, this many wolves in this area. They should only do this much damage. But, at the end of the day, they don't have tag numbers. They don't, they just, I'm not making them out to be extreme killers to kill everything they see, but they can do a lot of damage. And the coyotes here in Pennsylvania are almost like your wolves. Since we live in the mountains, they only have to take a few steps in either direction to disappear. They're almost like ghosts as well. You hear them.
Yeah.
You very rarely see one, but we find shredded deer constantly, shredded turkeys. You see their tracks, and it's the same thing. Let me back up. This year, me and Lacey were driving to work, and we saw the same flock of turkeys by the house every day for almost 3 weeks, almost every day. And she had a lot of youngins with them, and every week we would see less and less. She only had 2 come later in the spring, and that's opposed to our fox population. We have a huge fox population, but I'm sure the coyotes got some of them too. So if people don't predator hunt here in Pennsylvania a little bit more, I said this before in one of our other podcasts, I think down the road, a few years down the road, we're going to be hurting for a turkey population, especially with these hard winters that we've been having.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
numbers are good, but predator hunting needs to keep up.
Random thought I had to throw out.
So Kristy, if any of our listeners follow your Instagram, see a lot of competitive shooting, what type of competitions are you involved in?
Ooh, so last year was my first year competing in the precision rifle series, and I was pretty intimidated to step into that market. I'm not going to lie. I've been shooting long range as a hobby for 6 or 7 years now, and last year was the first year I was bold enough, if you will, to step into that series, which was very rewarding and extremely addicting.
So when you say precision rifle class, like how are you competing? Is it, are you competing from all 3 positions and at distances, barriers? What's a competition look like?
So each stage is different, and typically in the Precision Rifle Series and the National Rifle League, there's 2 different series. I'll shoot them both this year. Typically you have like a 19 course of fire series. It lasts over 2 days. Day 1, you'll usually do 10. Day 2, you'll do 9, or, sometimes you'll do 11 on the first day, but they all vary. you'll have a round count typically of 10. And then your stages are 90 seconds to 2 minutes in duration, and they'll vary from multiple target engagements that would be at varying distances to building multiple shooting positions at perhaps one target, or multiple shooting positions at multiple different targets. And you have, obviously a round count and a time allotment to make those and execute your successful shots, which, typically is no longer than 2 minutes. So if you think about it, some stages you got to build a shooting position, 5 different times in 2 minutes and get 10 rounds off. And sometimes there's 5 different targets. So you have to have a, really good system to be very specific with your dialing, know your wind calls as they change at different distances. Because obviously the longer your time of flight is with your bullet, the more the wind is going to affect your trajectory and where it's going to impact each target. So you have to keep in mind all of those things when you're running through your courses of fire. And it makes it really unique and challenging at each one.
Are there different classifications for this, like stock guns versus unlimited mods?
Yeah, they have, like the guys that are shooting 308s, they have a TAC division for that. Ballistically, they're just inferior to what, you're getting out of 6.5 Creedmoor, 6mm, 6 PRC, stuff like that. And then they also have a stock division. So if your rifle and optic combined is less than, I believe, $2,500 in value, or is it $3,000 in value? It's something like that, then you can shoot stock. Now, my rifle would qualify for stock, but I shoot the Night Force ATAC-R, and that scope alone sets me way out of the stock class. But my rifle, I'm shooting the Ruger Precision rifle, and that is a stock factory rifle, and I'm shooting factory Hornady match ammunition as well.
And this is all bolt action, right?
There's bolt action series, and then there's also gas gun series.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine trying to engage and be that accurate within 2 minutes for 5 different targets.
Yeah, I'm still racking my brain over the time allowance.
Yeah.
And you have to build different shooting positions. Like sometimes you'll start standing, hit kneeling, or you'll start at one end of a course of fire and you have to run and pick up rounds and come back. I mean, they make it to where it's really tough.
I find shooting offhand kneeling so amazingly challenging to me. I don't know if it's my mid-core strength or this staying steady, even shooting at 100 yards is ridiculous for me. Kneeling position's the hardest.
Yeah, anything unsupported is challenging. And when, like, you take someone like me, if I have a stage that they call for, all right, you're standing or kneeling, unsupported, offhand, my rifle's 25 pounds. I'm just throwing those rounds in the dirt as fast as I can get them sent. And my goal is to get on a target that I can hit without wasting time. Because I know I'm not going to hit them. I mean, me trying to hold and maintain reticle on a target, even at 100 yards. If it's 100 yards, perhaps, like last year, I did a PRS match in New England, and we did a freehand. It was like 150-yard Sasquatch, and I nailed that offhand. But it was a big target.
Yeah. Now
so you have to just evaluate all those things and game it a little bit. If the first part of your stages are, off of a position that perhaps you're not as competent with, or you're not very good at, versus, as you get across that course of fire, the positions become more of your strong suit. A lot of times I'll spend less time on those beginning stages and try to get towards those more solid stages, because for me, I'm not as good as a lot of the really good guys. I time out a lot. So I'm always watching how I can try to pick up as many points as I can with a given amount of time. And the guys that are really good are getting their first round off in 10 seconds. And they're getting their second round off in 14.
It's amazing. I would be like just rolling up there, nerve-wracked to get out of the truck shooting against some of those people. And I think a lot of it for me is my dad was a competitor rifle shooter whenever he was young. But they shot like the 1,000-yard open sight M1 Grands and Springfields back in the day, the shooting prone position. And they were shooting a huge target that looked very small at 1,000 yards, but you walk up to it and the 10 rings,
significant.
Yes, yeah. And they're just putting 30-odd 6 rounds downrange back in the day. And I think always growing up in the shadow of that, I always concentrated on being a really good archery shot because I knew I'd never beat Dad. Now, today, growing out of that a little bit, I own a really beautiful Ruger 1 Falling Block 300 Win Mag that I just adore. I think it's an amazing rifle for me in Pennsylvania. I find it to be a super accurate rifle for me to just practice with at the range and have fun just to shoot a bigger gun. But to take it to a competition, even here, to like a 200-yard, 300-yard competition, to walk out of the truck and look at some of these competitors, I would think I'd be nervous. So for you,
and you should be showing up to a match like that with a 300 Win Mag. Like, those are like ELR match rifles. Like, everybody's shooting really light recoiling, fast rounds right now, because the more you can see what your bullet path is doing, the better shooter you are, because what you want is to see where that hit or that miss is.
Right.
So you can adjust quickly and make that round count. So guys aren't shooting magnum caliber rifles with heavy recoil at these matches. You just don't see it. You see 6mm, 6 PRCs, you see 6.5 Creedmoors, things like that, that light recoil, easy to get on, follow-up shot, that gun's not kicking you around.
Yeah.
And those longer range matches where you're shooting, 1,800-yard shots, then you're seeing the 300 Win Mags, 338 Lapuas, stuff like that. But those are more belly matches, and I'm actually shooting an ELR match this year in June, which I've never shot one before, so that should be interesting.
And what is that? I'm sorry. For
Extreme long range.
Oh, I got you.
And you said 1,800 yards?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's extreme.
I shot out to 2,200 yards last year at FTW Ranch with Ruger's new 338 Lapua.
Now, my 300 Win Mag, would it be capable of doing that? Because I've never shot at that range.
I've not shot a 300 Win Mag that far. Ballistically, I don't see why not. I was shooting a 338 Lapua at that distance.
Right.
1,800 yards for sure.
Yes, yeah.
And I think, I plan on shooting my 300 Win Mag out that far. I think it's going to do just fine.
What's the extreme long range at Titus Ranch?
Well, technically down below I can get 880 at my place.
Wow.
It's nice to have an 880. I mean, everybody should have an 880-yard range in their
Yeah, I got an
backyard.
880 in my backyard.
Yeah. 880 inches to
8 yards
to the driveway.
Yeah.
80.
I think the longest shot I've ever taken was 500.
Yeah.
500 yards, and that was through boot camp and then all the qualifying I had to do in the military. But a human silhouette target at 500 yards is invisible behind the front sight post of an AR.
Madeira.
There's nothing there. You can't see it.
Why'd you put that
I can't
gun
imagine what
together
would
so
happen.
quickly?
Because you told me to, Drill Sergeant.
You got to strap in,
That's
boy.
where you need your old NX8 1-8 on your, and then you DMR up your rifle, and now you're shooting close and far.
Well,
yeah.
You just really confused everybody around this table.
I can't think
I've
any
been
more
saying that
acronyms.
for
I heard
years.
something about
Stevie was here,
Eminem.
that's what he said.
Eminem told DMX to do something to my rifle. That's what I heard.
So if you put a 1-8, you can use it for your close quarters. It's a true 1 power, and then you have up to 8 power, so that you can become your designated marksman for your unit and shoot those longer targets.
Oh, okay.
When are we going to see, like, the Kristy School of Shooting? Because I might want to take that course.
She's an instructor, I believe.
know that. But
You want the whole,
I
like
want
the-
the exclusive R2, bring the gang out, laugh at us all week while we shoot and miss, and then we can learn something.
And make fun of us.
Yes.
Like Jillian Michaels for shooters.
Exactly.
I'll scream at everybody. No, she's kind of mean, actually. I don't want to be her. Can I be somebody else?
You can be somebody nice. That's okay.
She kind of yells at people.
You can be Bob then. Wasn't it Bob?
This is Bob.
The other guy.
He's kind of on the wimpy side. We need to find a moderate.
We need. What's the middle?
Yeah,
I
don't
the
know.
spectrum is Bob and Jillian.
Yeah. I think I'll be Jillian for sure then.
Yeah.
Given the options, she'll take that one.
That's right.
I got to bring
No, I don't think I'm going to. I bought a piece of property. I closed on it in June so that I could shoot. But I can't do anything for money, for consideration. So, like, you guys could come shoot with me and I could teach you, but I just can't charge you. So that just means if you come out, it's
better
free.
for us.
Oh, my.
That's my kind of price.
Exactly. Yeah.
You just perked up Ryan's ears.
So I got to play another factor into consideration. Being in out there in Oregon right now, how do you practice this time of year? Is it not like 40 feet of snow or something crazy?
No, I was out there today. If you guys look on my Instagram stories, I was looking pretty hot and tempting in my Carhartt coveralls.
How about that?
Just rubber boots and Carhartt coveralls. And if it gets cold enough, I just build a bonfire and keep my hands warm and shoot 20 rounds, warm up my fingers and go shoot and make it kind of fun.
Yeah.
That leads right into one of the questions I had earlier as you were talking about all these competitions. How often do you shoot?
Well, I don't shoot enough. So the really good shooters, the guys that I really look up to and aspire to be like, they're shooting no less than 300 rounds a week. So they're training constantly. And just given my lifestyle, I know I just don't have the time to reach that level of training and consistency. I'm hunting all fall. So the nice thing that my range does provide me is some time to keep the dust off of my rifle, if you will, in between hunts. If I have a day or two, I can go get out 100 rounds, but I'm lucky to get, 200 rounds a month off in the fall hunting season, maybe 300 rounds, versus like this spring, I'll be shooting 300 to 400 rounds a week.
Wow.
I imagine that you have some help down the road with some of that ammunition cost then, because for me to go out and shoot 300 rifle rounds a week would get extremely pricey.
It does get extremely pricey, which is where, platforms like the Ruger Precision Rimfire is really great because it's got basically the same ergonomics as its big brother, the RPR, which I shoot and compete with, but it's 22 caliber. So same bolt throw. I can go through and practice my transitions. I can practice my stage setup and prep all under time. And I have steel at my range out to 225 yards with that RPR. So I can train with it. It's very, very inexpensive and get the same level of training as I would with my big brother rifles. The only thing that you don't get is the recoil management as much with that, because there is none. But if you are on a price restriction, as far as money goes, that's a great opportunity for anybody to train, even at close ranges, and the rimfire competitions are getting really popular as well.
Yeah, I guess
seeing
I
a lot
never
more of those around here. Yeah,
I guess I never thought of that because that's what my wife Lacey and me shoot. We shoot the 17 HMR all year to get her more ready for rifle season.
Yeah, you're pretty much doing the same thing. Do you, Kristy? Do you get involved at all with any reloading? Do you reload any of your competitive rounds?
I don't have time to do my emails.
Hey, at least she's honest.
I mean, let's be really honest here. I am traveling over 200 days a year. I don't reload. My dad likes to reload. I save all my brass. And, I'd like to sit down and spend some more time with my dad learning that art, because I think it's important for my dad to teach me that at some point, for not only him, but also for me. It's just coming up with the time for it. It's hard to balance everything. And so it makes, Hornady's level of accuracy, my standard deviations are typically single digits, and my extreme spreads sometimes might hit 12 or 14 feet a second, but they're pretty tight. So there's really no reason for me to reload.
It's crazy too. Like some of the Hornady ammunition that I've actually shot off the shelf in different grains, out of some of my rifles.
Yeah.
Are every bit as good, I would have to say, for me at least, than the match ammunition my father used to shoot when we went to the range back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is today.
I know for me personally, I shoot one of my hunting rifles is a Browning 7mm mag.
Yes.
And my reload rounds are way more consistent
Really?
than anything off the shelf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm not saying the guys that know how to reload, their consistency, their standard deviations that are hitting 3 or 4 feet a second consistently.
Yeah.
These are the top guys in the world shooting. I'm not that good a shooter. So already my rifle and ammo combo outperforms me. When and if I get to that level that I am better than either one of those components, I'll look at doing things like rebarreling, reloading ammo, things like that. But my level of consistency, my Ruger rifles are shooting sub half minutes out of the box with factory ammo. I mean, if you shoot a half-minute group or a sub-half-minute group at a match, you're going to do well. I mean, most of our targets are 2-minute targets. So, if your rifle ammo combination is a half-minute accuracy and your targets at your courses of fire are 1.5 to 2.5 minutes, there's no reason your weapon system should be missing. It's all on you or wind.
Right.
So for our listeners, a half minute of accuracy, that's a half inch at 100 yards, correct?
That's correct.
Of a group of 5.
So what DK is saying for the listeners that aren't smart,
Like
can't Google
Deke.
No, I'm just playing, but it is. So there's a lot of people that wouldn't know what that is, and it still confuses me to hear it wrapped off that fast by somebody talking at it in a sentence. It can get it jumped over my head too. But it sounds totally natural coming from you, so kick it out.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah, but it's crazy that you said that too, because like in Pennsylvania here, we do a lot of archery hunting, and I don't want to touch a whole lot on that, but you can actually have a skill set after a while. If you have an old bow and you're shooting with your friends, if you don't upgrade your bow and say you have an 8-10-year-old bow, you can actually, your bow cannot perform as well as you can. Like you can only be
That's
as good
correct.
as your equipment.
Right.
Some of the modern day bows that we're shooting now, like out at ATA, and we just shot some at Kinsey's, I don't know if you can be good enough to. The technology's stupid.
It seems like it's getting. They keep finding ways to be better, more balanced.
We say it every year.
It's weird. Like, how can they get better?
But they do. But that's
Well, and it's the same thing, we talk about exacting standards. Hornady makes their ammunition to exacting standards. Ruger manufactures their actions to exacting standards. So there's not this huge range anymore of actions that aren't consistent or ammunition that's not consistent. And you don't have to invest $4,000 in a rifle to have it be exact standard. And the technology has increased so tremendously. And that's one thing I love about Ruger. Like, you take them, they brought on Doug Koenig this year, who's one of the best shooters in the world, and they now have an entire pistol line that you can literally buy a Ruger 1911 now, and you're shooting the same pistol that Doug Koenig is shooting in competition and winning the world. So they have taken that exacting model and made it affordable for everybody. And that's what I really love about things, is you don't have to spend $1 bazillion on a platform to be competitive anymore.
Yeah.
You just need to make sure you have the latest and greatest.
That's right. And that goes with just about everything in the world. I upgraded my binos this year just because Will did. Will upgraded his bow, so I got a new bow, which was his old bow, which is still the latest and greatest. Yeah, but it is nice that to know it. Here's the wild thing: some of these rifles are like, forget accuracy. They're becoming lighter, less recoil, cooler looking. So when you talk about the latest and greatest, I mean, a really typical AR platform looked really killer just a few short years ago, and then you look at some of these custom, firearms makers, and I'm looking at their going, hashtag unique weapons, and look at some of the ones out there. Holy cow, guys are getting to be like, what are them guys? Art. Yeah, it is art. What's those? The OC chopper guys that made the spider bike.
Yeah.
I mean, those types of guys are making guns now. They're ridiculously beautiful. I like it, actually. I like to see the artsy-fartsy guns.
I do like to. I want to jump back just a hair, but like when you guys were talking about ammo, and when you find that manufacturer that trips your trigger, that's
pun intended.
Yeah.
I have about. I'm probably not exaggerating. It might be an exaggeration, but I have about 30 years worth of deer rifle, ammo.
You just keep buying it when you get it.
The one thing, yeah. It's that one ammo is, all I need.
We upgraded Lacey's deer rifle this year.
Yeah.
Well, like we got her the 7mm 08, and I bet you I'm not kidding. I dug through all that 30, 40 boxes of that 243 ammo that I just didn't want her to have anymore. And
yeah.
I don't know what to do with it all. You have a 243, Ryan?
Yeah.
I have tons of ammo for it if you'd like.
So Kristy, you were saying you travel about 200 days a year. What that's hunting, that's competitive shooting. What else is that?
Trade shows, events, traveling for NRA.
Your life sounds so boring.
Well,
not at all.
Yawn.
Speaking of trade shows,
I get to see the world and meet everybody and shoot guns, and I bought 6,000 acres in Oregon.
No, it's 60. You put a few too many zeros on there.
I do that sometimes.
He's not good with math
so
It does sound amazing.
and geometry.
speaking of the trade
geography.
shows, you're going to be in our backyard at the Great American Outdoor Show.
Yeah, unfortunately, you guys are going to have to be in the same general vicinity as me for several days.
That's going to be a really
She's
hard
coming.
thing to do.
She's coming to the
Yeah.
show.
Yes, she is.
I'm coming. Yeah.
What do
I'm
you-
actually teaching a class there on positional shooting on Saturday as it relates to hunting. And then on Sunday, I'm teaching a class on elk calling and hunting.
Well,
Nice.
if you need anybody in either of those classes to stand up there and be the,
Elk?
and this is how you don't do it,
Oh,
people,
Yeah.
you let us know.
I can add some extra zeros on everything you say.
Hey, I promise you there's things that I do every year that I go, wow, that was really dumb. I mean, that would eliminate the human condition, and then we would cease to live. So
Yeah.
that's just the way life goes. And we can always learn something new. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, as serious as we can be, talking about, if you can't have some humbleism in yourself to know that you can fail on a regular basis, then you can never be great. So this is I don't get to talk. I get to talk to lots of people that make me humble about what they do in life. I mean, there's people that we've talked to on this show that have such an amazing lifestyle, but you really take the cake. I can't wait to meet you.
So
No, I
just listening about
have a
your
lot
life.
of people. I look up to a lot of people that are really. I mean, Doug Koenig is on Team Ruger. You talk about a brand ambassador. That man knows firearms inside and out as well as any engineer I've ever seen. He's an incredible sportsman. Just truly a great brand ambassador. My coach for PRS, Jake Vibert, he's one of the best long range shooters in the country. The nicest person. And, one thing that I have found is, somebody might look up to me and think, oh, she knows so much. Well, I'm looking up to somebody else looking with the same set of fresh eyes, like, oh
Sure.
my gosh, these people, they know so much. And really, it gives you a goal. And that's the one thing that I hope for with what I'm doing is, there's got to be people out there that are wanting to get into long range shooting or hunting for that matter. And they're nervous. And perhaps they hear my story and they think, well, if she gets the gumption to go try this stuff, I can too. And that's the best gift I think we can give people.
You're
We're not too
challenging-
good for anybody.
you're challenging me just to become more active at shooting and become more accurate, which is going to make my hunting better and improve my
That's
hunting.
why I started.
Yeah. So
Well, and actually that might be a perfect segue because I felt like we had a huge jump in time, right? We learned a little bit about when you were growing up. Maybe you were jealous of the kids in the neighborhood, but you were growing up in the middle of nowhere, and then we jumped to you started competitive shooting a year ago. Where did the love of the shooting sports really start for you, though?
Well, so for me, it's not where it started, but I got into the hunting kind of industry, if you will, segued into that through conservation. And I've dedicated my entire adult life to volunteering for different conservation organizations, from Safari Club International to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation. And now I work with the National Rifle Association. So that's been the major component of, my life's work is dedicated to giving back. And I tell every sportsman out there, if you're taking, you need to give back. And that's a stronghold that I really, if you're taking and hunting and reaping, then you need to also sow, which means giving back towards conservation, volunteering, things like that. Especially, I take a lot of veterans on hunts because they provide our freedom. So extending a thank you to them is important to my heart. But from that, I had to go ahead.
I was just going to say both of those are like super mature thoughts and stances on things. Was there a catalyst that started that for you? Like, was there an experience that you had that you just thought, you know what, conservation is that important to me, I have to take this stand? and participate in this way, or is it just it's been ingrained in you?
No, my parents were members of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation since I can remember. It was founded in '84. And I remember my parents going to some of the first banquets. So, they really introduced me to the philosophy of conservation and how hunting is conservation. And so it was just something I grew up with is, you're a hunter, you give back. And to me, there is no other way.
And
I was fortunate for that.
Yeah, I think so. There's two ways people come to that thought. And that's where I kind of wanted to point that out is you were raised in it. So it's very important for any of us that have, young children and we're taking them hunting. It isn't just a matter of taking them hunting so that they're not sitting in front of a video game or taking them hunting so they're not getting in trouble doing this or that. This is your opportunity to help them understand because it can instill a passion like what you are displaying, like what you're living.
Absolutely.
Sure, pass it down.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
Super important.
Yeah. And you have to instill that in kids in a delicate time frame. And part of the problem with continuing that is the dissolution of the family unit. So a lot of kids don't have dads around. They're from single parent households. Their dads don't hunt, but they perhaps have an interest in it, which is where community outreach becomes important. That, if you're of a hunting or shooting sports family and a kid, and maybe they got a crummy family, maybe their home life isn't the best, maybe the kid's in a little trouble and could use someone that cares about them.
It sounds like
instead of casting
the
those
kids I ever taught hunting.
Well, for sure. Instead of casting them aside, bring them into the fold.
Yeah.
Giving them an opportunity to learn what ethics are and what integrity means. And
you don't have to have an adrenaline rush, shooting a mule deer, a squirrel, shooting your long range weapon. We do multiple youth field days every year, and to watch little kids that never picked up a fishing rod catch a bluegill, to watch a little 12-year-old kid throw a tomahawk and stick it in a piece of old, barnwood, to watch them make their first turkey sounds. With these youth field days that we do, the National Wild Turkey Federation does a lot here in Pennsylvania. We help them out. I get a high off watching those kids. They've never heard a turkey sound before. Mm-hmm. Ryan teaches them archery, and they're probably horrible archers forever after that. But Ryan tries to teach them archery.
I try.
Those are more like scars.
But those days, so I totally get what you're saying. Those days to go out and do that there are now. We've been doing it for years, and now there's not many things I would give up hunting for, but we've given up a lot of hunting days to do that, and I'm so happy that we do because I have fun at those days. Absolutely.
Oh, there's nothing better for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Kristy, we're going to segue into our segment called the Fast Five.
We there already?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
What time do we got?
Oh, we're ripping through time, unfortunately.
This episode has gone by fast. Huh. So
I'm a talker, guys. Sorry about that.
Hey, it's been great. But we're going to go around and ask you 5 questions, and we try to kind of rapid fire them so it can be quick, precise answers.
And there is no wrong answer.
Correct.
You'll get 100% on this quiz.
So,
oh boy,
I'll kick this one off.
Is this like every kid gets a trophy mentality here?
No,
we'll tell you. We'll tell you if your answer sucks.
But it'll be right.
It'll be right. Yeah.
So, what are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud that I'm part of the over 7 million acres that's been conserved or enhanced since 1984 through the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation volunteers.
Boom.
Excellent.
That's a great one.
Yeah, there's only 220,000 members, and we've conserved or enhanced 7 million acres. We've opened access to over 1 million, and any anti that comes at me, I tell them what we've done, and I ask them what they've done, and it usually falls on no response.
Wow.
Drop the mic on that.
Yeah, that's a great,
boom,
great one.
We don't have any more questions.
Yeah, sorry.
That covered all 5, actually. Number 2, one thing you can't live without in the outdoors.
That I can't live without?
Yeah, like Pop-Tarts or your wrist release for your bow or
Mine's toilet paper.
warm boots, whatever the case may be.
Dave, if you want your own show, we'll have to.
Well, I mean, I have several versions of what I can't live without.
What do you take
um,
with you all the time? You can't go out without. You got to go back because you forgot it at the house.
Yeah, well, what I can't live without usually is my GPS because I'm like navigationally challenged to an extenuating circumstance that it's bad.
Yeah. Well, that's a good answer.
I will
Hey,
get
that
you
happens.
lost. I will get you lost in the woods. Guaranteed.
And thanks to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, there's a lot of acres you could get us
You
lost.
can get
in.
lost in.
That's right. That's right.
We will find our way back
Yeah,
some year.
you better take that GPS with you then.
Yeah. But I have things that I like. So but that's just one
That's
that if I don't have, then I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Some of these kind of go hand in hand, but what makes you happy?
Oh, what makes me happy is being on my farm with my dogs.
Perfect.
Like, and being outside. Anything outside. I don't even have, well, I mean, I have a smart TV now, but I haven't had cable in years. And for me, it's breathing fresh air, whether it be cold or hot or just anything outside.
That's
All
awesome.
right. So, what's one thing you do every day to prepare for your outdoor lifestyle?
Every day,
Every day, or most days.
I'm kind of a gym rat. I work out a lot.
That's something I should probably.
That's a way better answer than anything I could give right
we
now.
would need to.
I'm a little out of shape.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
How far of a
If I-
drive is it to the gym in Oregon?
Well, I have a Peloton bike in my bedroom. I have an elliptical at my mom's and then a small gym at my mom's house. And then we have a gym, 3 minutes from my house. So it's not, and I have a CrossFit membership.
Do you do a lot of those live rides on the Peloton?
Oh man, I'm on that thing. Last night I did 13 and a half miles, almost puked. It was a grunt.
I did one ride on that thing. My sister-in-law's.
What?
Yeah.
Did your butt hurt afterwards? That why
He
you
was
didn't do it
saddle
anymore?
sore.
Yeah.
You have to work through that.
I couldn't stay in the saddle. I kept jumping up. The instructor's yelling at me.
Saddle up, partner.
I don't know why I was picturing Oregon like there's like 3.5 hour drive to the nearest gym.
I mean,
Probably would be.
Might be.
So, final question. What is your bucket list hunting trip, outdoor trip? What's the big kahuna?
besides coming to Harrisburg for the Great American Outdoor Show
To hang out with us.
to hang out with us,
Oh, and we are going to hang out because I got to meet you guys in person.
Oh, definitely.
Though, for me, to be honest with you, I want my dad to shoot a 340-inch or better elk with a bow. Like, my bucket list isn't for me; it's for him.
Hey, it's
man.
still, I like it.
And you know what? That's
I
the
want him to get a
first
giant.
bucket list giveaway. That's the first. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was.
everyone
love
else
it.
has
It's
their
the
own
best
bucket
one
list.
I've heard you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to do so many incredible things. I want my dad to, he's getting older and slowing down, and I'm really pushing for him to take some time. I'm hoping he'll draw antelope in Oregon this year, and I'm not even hunting. We're going to film it. Blessed that he draws it, I hope. And I mean, I just want my dad to have some really cool experiences because he appreciates them as much, if not more, than I do, and doesn't take the time for it. So I want to make sure that happens.
That's so great. I hope it does too.
Yeah. We're cheering you on here for that. So,
Yeah.
as we wrap up, how can our listeners find you, listen to you, more of you? How can they do
Sure,
that?
they just drive around the country. They'll probably run into her somewhere.
Yeah, one of those 200
Probably.
days.
Yeah.
Well, it depends if they're backpacking or not, or what, I mean, if they're in town, they're not going to find me. I promise you.
Well,
people
she
can
doesn't
find
know
me-
where she is if she forgets her GPS.
Yeah, I'll get
How are we
lost if
gonna
I
find
don't.
her?
Nobody will ever find me. You got to put a tracking device on me.
Have
Thank
you
God there's a Find My Phone app.
By the way,
have you been to the Great American Outdoor Show before?
This will be my first time.
You're gonna get so
yeah, you
lost.
might want to bring that GPS.
Yeah.
We're gonna draw you a map. It's such a big building.
You're gonna need a guide.
I have buddies. My buddy Jim Brennan, he's one of my best friends, and he goes every year. So
Yeah,
I'll make
good.
sure that he takes care of me.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's what you need. You need somebody who's been there.
A handler.
A handler.
Yeah, a handler. Oh gosh,
It's huge.
Oh, boy.
It's just it'll swallow you up. It's just huge.
There's 7 of us, and it can get so
There used
crowded.
to be 8 of us.
Yeah.
we
And
lost.
we lost one at the
We
show.
used to tie paracord to each other's belt loops just to, like, when you backpack up a mountain to get through that.
You had one of those little harnesses on, like
Yeah.
people put on their kids.
That's exactly what we had.
It was belaboring.
Catfish wears the little tiger one with the tail,
I like that one.
and DK has to hold the tail.
Put
of
my
it.
crab cake sandwiches in that thing.
We lost a lot of good men out there.
Yeah.
So, how can our listeners find you?
You're the one who stays on track. You're like the voice of reason.
We've been saying that about him. for
Some
years.
days. It's my week to be the responsible one.
Everyone else is like off track, myself included. So people can find me really easily on social media. It's just at Kristy Titus, so KristyTitus. Same thing with my website. My YouTube channel is Pursue the Wild, or if you look me up as Kristy Titus, it'll also pull up. So I have a whole digital television series that we didn't even touch on that airs on Amazon TV, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and it's hunting and tips and tactics, of course. And so it's trying to be kind of informative and also quasi-entertaining if you're into that sort of thing. And it's called Pursue the Wild. So check that out too.
Perfect. Well, we definitely will have to do a part 2 episode.
Yeah, we have to do a whole one on Pursue the Wild.
Yeah.
Like it.
We're also going to have to do an episode at the Great American Outdoors Show. We'll have to catch up with you, record another podcast there. So our listeners will be hearing more from you.
Oh yeah, that'd be a great interaction, and just to get her take on the show as a first time attendee.
Yes.
Love
You
it.
guys, I'll make an appointment and I won't show up because I'll have lost my umbilical cord to Jim and I'll be back in another building and I won't be able to find you.
Sir, you're warning us that you're going to stand us up.
No,
Yeah.
Okay.
We're professional trackers inside that building. Outside the building, we're not good at all. But
Good to know.
yeah,
We've been running
I
around
feel
that.
safe.
We've been running around that place since we were in strollers.
yeah,
We
we've been
know all
there
the hiding spots.
a long time.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it. we
Oh,
look
Kristy,
forward to
thank you.
talking to you and hearing more from you, Kristy.
Thanks, guys.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was a good one, Deaky.
Oh, that was good.
You did have that nice little surprise for us.
You're welcome.
I take back all those bad things I was saying about you.
You should.
You know, one of the
should.
things that I
Well,
really
most of
love when we have a guest of that magnitude on
What's that?
is when I can look across the table at you and all the stuff you do, making deer fat soap and all the craziness that you're into, and literally just go, we just don't do enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
want
do
to
enough.
learn how to make deer fat soap. What is this?
He'll teach you
Oh,
all
I'll
kinds
teach
of
you.
stuff. He makes candles out of dead bugs and all kinds of weird stuff.
That's perfect. So,
All right.
boys, where can our listeners find us?
As always, you can find us at RuttenRiverPursuits.com. And of course, we are all over the place on social media.
Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Just search Rutten River Pursuits.
Don't forget the
YouTube channel. Make sure you look for us, Rutten River Pursuits Podcast. And the podcast itself, as always, available on Apple Podcasts and
Spotify.
You know what I like? I love Spotify.
It's my new favorite.
That's my favorite because it's new. So, Deke, when we're not shooting precision rifles, extended long range,
Out to 2,200 yards.
and walking, every time we go in Bass Pro, buying our favorite ammo.
And riding a Peloton bike 35 miles. You knew it was coming. I stumped him.
When we're not doing all those things, we get hungry.
That's true. That's very true.
What do we do? when
And
we
then
get
you eat the other guy's soap because there's bugs in it.
There's a little bit of protein, but I prefer my protein from Moses Family Jerky. So I like to go to mfjerky.com. And I like to use the promo code
Jerky Pursuits 15. Get 15% off your entire order.
The
All that
entire
jerky,
website.
all that coffee.
Everything.
Jerky and coffee. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Sounds great.
All right. Rig 'em weedless.
All right, see you, Will. Deegy.
See you guys.
Peace.
See ya. You're touching the mic. Quit touching the mic.
Don't you dare touch it. You guys are funny.
We try.
Oh, just you wait.
Where that came from.
You reload any of your competitive rounds?
I don't have time to do my emails.
At least she's honest.
I'll kick this one off.
Is this like every kid gets a trophy mentality here?
No.
No, we'll tell you. We'll tell you if your answer sucks.
But it'll be right.
But it'll be right. Yeah.
Ryan teaches them archery, and they are probably horrible archers forever after that. But Ryan tries to teach them.
I try.
Those are more like scars.